Wine Spectator just released its complete list of top 100 wines for the past year a few days ago. It's certainly an eclectic list that features everything from a canned wine to a dry ferment, which is a category that I've recommended a couple times recently. Having had some time to consider the list, in this video, I'm going to discuss my recommendations for wine collectors. This will be a bit of a mixed bag that will include everything from cellar defenders or daily drinkers that are ready for immediate consumption, to those wines that require a couple years to improve in the bottle, and also those that you want to put away for 8 to 10 years or more. So let's get started. The first wine to catch my eye is the 2019 Mencia Bierzo Encinas. This wine is a collaboration between Antoine Graillot and Raul Perez. Antoine Graillot is the son of famous Gros Hermitage producer Alain Graillot, and Raul Perez has long been regarded as not only one of the top winemakers in Spain, but one of the top winemakers in the entire world. Raul Perez has been making wine for almost 30 years, since he was only 22 years old. This wine came in at number 99 on the list. This is the wine that the Wine Spectator awarded 93 points, and it sells for around $33 a bottle. Bierzo has attracted top producers like Raul Perez because the rocky slopes reminded them a lot of the Priorat region, which has certainly exploded over the past couple decades. But yet Bierzo is still well underdeveloped, and the land costs are far more reasonable than they are in Priorat currently. So this is definitely a region that's capable of producing very quality wines at an affordable price. This is an excellent cellar defender, and you can't go wrong with a wine like this from two top winemakers that sells for only around 33 bucks and is ready to drink right now. One of the things I found interesting about the rankings this year is that some of the wines that finished just outside of the top 10 seem to offer better quality for the price than some of the wines inside the top 10. An example of this is the number 12 wine, the Gradamacco Bulgari Superior. This wine seems to have lost a little bit of heat to Tignanello since Tignanello finished in the top 10, but yet this Gradamacco received a higher score than the Tignanello, with a 97 versus a 96, and it also sells for much less than the Tignanello, coming in at right around $100 rather than closer to $150 for Tignanello. So this is definitely an excellent Super Tuscan, and one that you should consider if you're interested in Super Tuscan wines. Unlike Tignanello, this wine is Cabernet Sauvignon dominant, but it does include some Merlot and Sangiovese as well. This wine is well balanced, but will definitely benefit from at least a couple years in the cellar, so I would definitely try to show a little bit of patience, but yet you won't have to hold it for too long. The number 11 wine is another example of a wine whose rating and price make it arguably more appealing than one of the wines in the top 5. Specifically, I'm talking about the 2019 Beauséjour Bacot, which finished with a 95-point rating from Wine Spectator and sells for $61 per bottle, which is the same rating and about $4 less per bottle than the Talbot. This is a Right Bank Bordeaux from Saint-Emilion. As such, it's a blend of Merlot and Cabernet Franc, but there's a little bit of Cabernet Sauvignon as well. This is a wine that will definitely improve with a few years of additional age in the bottle, but you should be able to enjoy it over the next 12 to 15 years thereafter. The next wine in the Wine Spectator Top 100 that caught my eye comes from the Yarra Valley in Australia. Specifically, I'm talking about the number 18 wine, which is the Giant Steps Pinot Noir. This wine sells for around $40 and received a 94 from the Wine Spectator. For those unfamiliar with the Yarra Valley, there's both an upper Yarra Valley, which is a little bit cooler, and a lower Yarra Valley that's a little bit warmer. This wine is a blend of 60% fruit from the upper Yarra and 40% fruit from the lower Yarra Valley. By blending that fruit, they help to achieve balance and complexity. This wine is ready to enjoy immediately, but it's also capable of aging for a little while as well, so there's certainly no rush to drink it. The next wine to catch my eye in the Wine Spectator Top 100 came in at number 52. This wine is the 2019 Pratts & Symington Douro Crisia. I've been a big fan of this wine ever since the stellar 2011 vintage, but the 2019 vintage received a 96 points from Wine Spectator and can be purchased for around $100, $105 or so. This wine is a blend of Touriga Nacional and Touriga Franca. This is a wine that will definitely benefit from another couple years of bottle aging, but you can enjoy it over 10 years after that. By the way, this producer also has an excellent wine at the $30 price point that's called Postscriptum. So if you're a fan of this producer or this style of wine, you definitely want to give that a try as well. I'm a big fan of wines from the Northern Rhone region of France, and so I was very glad that the Wine Spectator Top 100 included a couple of Northern Rhone wines on their rankings. The first of them that I'll be discussing came in at number 95, namely the Elan Vosges Cornas Old Vines. This wine received an impressive 96-point rating and sells for around $90 a bottle. Cornas has to be 100% Syrah, and Elan Vosges is one of the top producers in Cornas and has been for a number of years. This is definitely a wine that will benefit from some additional bottle age. Cornas tends to be very structured, so it's not a wine that you want to start drinking right away. Talented California winemaker Thomas Rivers Brown was responsible for the number 1 overall wine of the Wine Spectator Top 100 this year, but he also produced the number 94 wine, namely the Rivers Marie Sonoma Coast Silver Eagle Vineyard Pinot Noir. This excellent Pinot Noir received a 93-point rating and sells for around $60 a bottle. Rivers Marie is the personal label that's owned by Thomas Rivers Brown and his wife. They combined their middle names to form the name of this winery. Rivers Marie makes some excellent Cabernet Sauvignon, Pinot Noir, and Chardonnay, and so the best way to get these wines is to get on the mailing list. For those of you who visit Napa Valley, Rivers Marie also opened an excellent tasting room a couple years ago that's located in Calistoga. So definitely check that out if you're a fan of these wines. One of my all-time favorite producers is Domaine J.L. Chave. Chave has been a family-owned producer in the Northern Rhone region of France for almost 500 years. Today, the 16th generation is in charge and is responsible for the number 37 wine in the Wine Spectator Top 100. Namely the 2018 Domaine J.L. Chave Saint-Joseph. This impressive wine received a 95-point score and sells for right around $87 a bottle. J.L. Chave's approach is characterized by minimal intervention, so they don't use any chemicals in the vineyard. They harvest low yields of fully ripe fruit. They use ambient yeasts. They don't use any filtration, and they use only modest amounts of new oak for maturation. Chave is justifiably famous for producing an outstanding Hermitage, which is one of my all-time favorite wines, but you can get this stellar Saint-Joseph for a small fraction of the price of the Hermitage. This is one that I would probably age for a couple years in the bottle, but it will easily drink for at least 10 years thereafter. Fans of Bordeaux will definitely want to consider the number 67 wine in the Wine Spectator Top 100, namely the Chateau La Gaufelière from Saint-Emilion. This impressive wine received a 94-point rating and sells for around $80 a bottle. In my Top Bordeaux for $75 video, I featured the 2020 vintage of La Gaufelière, which was around $75 for futures. But this producer has definitely been on a bit of a hot streak lately, so you really can't go wrong with any of the wines from the past 3 or 4 vintages. This is, however, a wine that you'll definitely want to give a few years in the cellar, so if you're looking for immediate gratification, this is probably not the best choice for you. But if you're able to put this wine away for 8 to 10 years and leave it alone, your patience should pay off handsomely, as this will be an extremely enjoyable wine down the road. If you're interested in wine recommendations, wine collecting strategies, and learning more about wine, please do subscribe to my channel. I've been collecting wine for more than 15 years and also have a level 4 diploma from the DipWSET. So I have both formal certification as well as substantial practical knowledge from the School of Hard Knocks. A German cabinet from Dr. Thanisch is one of the wines that offers the best quality to price ratio in the Wine Spectator Top 100 this year. This impressive wine came in at number 34 in the ratings. It received a 93-point rating from Wine Spectator and sells for only $23. This is definitely a wine that you can enjoy immediately, but it will also age up to 10 years or so with no problem. It is a cabinet, so it will have a little bit of residual sugar, but I actually really enjoy cabinet with spicy foods such as Thai or Indian or Mexican. I think that little bit of residual sugar actually works extremely well to offset the heat. I'm a big fan of the Willamette Valley in Oregon, and so I was pleased to see that the Soder Willamette Valley Pinot Noir came in at number 33 in the Wine Spectator Top 100. This winemaker used to work for Etude in California in the 1990s, and then he left and moved to Oregon to start his own winery. The 2019 Soder Pinot Noir received a 94-point rating and sells for around $54 a bottle. If you're a fan of Oregon Pinot Noir, or if you'd like to give it a try, this would be an excellent one to start with. Another wine in the Wine Spectator Top 100 that offers exceptional quality for the price is the number 21 rated wine, namely the Viña Monte Syrah from Colchagua Valley in Chile. Chile is known for producing wines that offer exceptional quality for the price, and this is certainly a prime example of that. For only $20, you can get a 93-point rated wine that's ready to enjoy immediately, but will last another 5 to 6 years or so. Better still, this one was made in very large quantities, so you should be able to source it with no difficulty at all. While Willamette Valley is justifiably recognized as a top source for excellent Pinot Noir, lately it's also become a tremendous producer of world-class Chardonnay. And so I was pleased to see that the Domaine Druhan Rose Rock Chardonnay from Eola Amity Hills finished number 15 in the Wine Spectator Top 100. This excellent Chardonnay from the 2020 vintage sells for around $38 and received a 94-point rating from Wine Spectator. Chardonnay from Willamette Valley is extremely underrated relative to some other Chardonnays, certainly in the United States at least. And for example, it's hard to even get a Sauvignon Blanc from Napa Valley for $38. Much less a top-notch Chardonnay. I've found that while a lot of people tend to be critical of some Chardonnays because they're overly oaky, a lot of the Chardonnay from Oregon is made in a more restrained style, and it has either neutral oak or only small percentages of new French oak used in the maturation. I was there a few months ago, and the Chardonnays from a number of top producers were impressive pretty much across the board. And so I definitely encourage you to not only try this wine, but some other examples of Chardonnay from Oregon as well. The iconic Tignanello from Antinori finished number 5 in the Wine Spectator ratings this year. Specifically, the 2019 vintage received a 96-point score, and it sells for around $145 per bottle. I tasted this wine at a trade event and was extremely impressed by how enjoyable it was already. I know many are critical of the price increases, and this wine has definitely gone up in price about 50% or so in the last 8 or 9 years. I recall buying the 2009 and 2010 vintages for even a little bit less than $100. And so certainly this dramatic price increase has been a little bit disappointing. But at the time I was buying the wine, because relative to Sassicaia and Ornellaia, it offered compelling value. And I think that certainly is still true today, as those wines are selling for more than $250 per bottle. This wine is a blend of Sangiovese, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Cabernet Franc. If you're a fan of Tignanello, you may want to search for some back vintages in the secondary market. This is another case where some of the older vintages may sell for less than the new releases. Well, I think that the Beauséjour-Bécaud is a more compelling buy. The number 4 wine in the Wine Spectator Top 100 this year, namely Chateau Talbot from Saint-Julien, is also a no-brainer. This wine received a 95-point score and sells for around $65 a bottle. This is a left bank wine that's Cabernet Sauvignon dominant, but also includes some Merlot and Petit Verdot. Since I've taken a lot of heat over the last few months for not recommending enough South African wines, I'm definitely going to mention the Badenhorst family wine that sells for only $18 a bottle and yet received an impressive 92-point rating from the Wine Spectator. This impressive white blend finished number 56 in the Wine Spectator Top 100 this year, and this wine is a blend of Chenin Blanc, Semillon, and Colombard. It's definitely one worthy of consideration if you're looking for an intriguing white wine that sells for below $20 a bottle. The number 1 wine in the Wine Spectator Top 100 is the Double Diamond from Schrader Cellars. This impressive wine is made by Thomas Rivers Brown that I discussed earlier in this episode. This wine received a 94-point rating and sells for $80 a bottle. An impressive 70% of the fruit for this wine comes from the famous Tokelon vineyard. They're able to achieve this relatively modest price point for a Napa wine by using some of the fruit from the younger vines in that vineyard that's not ready to go into the top Schrader Cellars wines yet. This wine is probably largely sold out already, even though it was just announced about a week ago. However, if you're interested in this wine, I would encourage you to look for some of the other vintages, such as the 2018 vintage. I actually prefer the 2018 vintage of Double Diamond to the 2019 vintage, and so you may be able to find that one in the secondary market. Well, I am a fan of Schrader Cellars wines generally, and I enjoy the Double Diamond wines and think this is definitely an excellent value in Napa. If I had one criticism of the fact that this wine received the number 1 overall rating, it would be the fact that there's a number of Bordeaux wines that are in this list, including at least number 4 and number 11, that received higher ratings and sell for lower price points. And yet those wines inexplicably finish lower in the ratings than this wine that was rated number 1.